The chandeliers blazed, the ballroom hummed with laughter and greed, and Alara Vance stood exactly where she'd been placed, behind the marble column, out of sight, barely breathing. She'd learned long ago not to hope. Hope was for girls like her sister Isolde, girls who glittered and commanded rooms. Hope was dangerous for someone trained to be furniture. Then the Duke walked in, and every rule her mother had beaten into her died in the space of a single glance. If you want to see how far a girl can fall and rise from the shadows, stay with me. Drop a like, tell me what city you're watching from, and let's see how this story travels, because what happens next? No one saw it coming. The Vance estate didn't feel like a home. It felt like a stage set, assembled and maintained for the sole purpose of performance. Every piece of furniture was positioned with mathematical precision. Every servant moved with practiced silence. Every moment was orchestrated by Lady Marguerite Vance, a woman who believed control was the highest form of love. Alara learned this early. She was 7 the first time her mother made her stand in the corner during a dinner party. Not as punishment, though it felt like one, but as strategy. Isolde is the jewel, her mother had explained, her fingers cold against Alara's chin. You are the setting. Settings don't demand attention. They make the jewel shine brighter. Alara had nodded. She'd been nodding ever since. Now, at 22, she'd perfected the art of disappearing. She could stand in a crowded room and become invisible. She knew which shadows to occupy, which conversations to avoid, which smiles to offer that meant nothing and promised less. She wore gray when Isolde wore sapphire. She kept her hair simple when her sister's was adorned with pearls. She ate less, spoke softer, existed smaller. And it worked, most of the time. Tonight was supposed to be another performance. The Belmont Ball, hosted by Lord Chancellor Greaves, was the season's most important event. Half the peerage would attend. Fortunes would shift over champagne. Marriages would be arranged between the second and third waltz. Lady Marguerite had planned for months. Isolde will wear the ivory silk, she'd announced that morning, pacing the drawing room like a general before battle. Lord Ashford will be there. His father is ill. He'll need a wife before winter. Laura sat by the window, embroidery hoop in her lap, listening without listening. This was familiar territory. Her mother's ambitions always centered on Isolde. Beautiful, charming Isolde, who could make men stumble over their own names. Alara was simply part of the backdrop. Alara. She looked up. Her mother's gaze was sharp, assessing. You'll wear the dove gray. Stand near the northeast column during the opening reception. Not too close to Isolde, but visible enough that people remember we have 2 daughters. Smile if spoken to. Do not initiate conversation. Yes, mother. And for heaven's sake, fix your posture. You slouch like a scullery maid. Alara straightened. Her mother nodded, already moving on, already forgetting her. Isolde swept into the room a moment later, trailing silk and rosewater. She was golden-haired, blue-eyed, curved in all the ways that made men stupid. She wasn't cruel, not exactly, but she was indifferent, which sometimes felt worse. Is that what you're wearing? Isolde asked, glancing at Alara's plain morning dress. To the ball? No, the gray one. Oh. Isolde's attention flickered away, already bored. I'm wearing the ivory. Mother says Lord Ashford will propose by midnight. Oh, will you accept? Isolde shrugged, examining her nails. Probably. He's dull but rich. That's enough, isn't it? Alara didn't answer. She'd stopped answering questions like that years ago. Bye, Sadet. The Belmont estate made the Vance home look modest. The ballroom alone could have swallowed their entire ground floor. Crystal chandeliers hung like frozen starlight. The marble floors gleamed so brightly Alara could see her reflection, small, gray, forgettable. She took her position near the northeast column as instructed. From here, she could see everything while being seen by almost no one. Isolde held court near the center of the room, surrounded by young lords in expensive coats. Lady Marguerite hovered nearby, orchestrating introductions with surgical precision. Alara watched. That's what she did. She watched other people live. The evening rolled forward in predictable waves. Waltzes, champagne, laughter that sounded rehearsed. She recognized most of the faces, sons and daughters of the peerage, all playing the same games her family played. Who could marry higher? Who could gain more? She was considering slipping out to the garden when the room changed. It wasn't loud. There was no announcement, but the air shifted, conversation stumbling, heads turning toward the main entrance. Duke Calum Thorne had arrived. Elara had never seen him in person. Few people had. He was a legend more than a man. The Duke of Shadowmere, Lord Commander of the Northern Reach, advisor to the crown. He was 31 and had never married. Rumor said he'd killed a man in a duel at 17. Another rumor said he'd negotiated a peace treaty that saved 10,000 lives. A third said he smiled once in 1834 and immediately regretted it. He looked exactly like someone who carried that kind of weight. Tall, broad-shouldered. Dark hair swept back from a face that could have been carved from stone. Sharp jaw, severe brow, eyes the color of winter storms. He wore black, unadorned except for a silver pin marking his rank. No jewelry, no flourishes. He didn't need them. The crowd parted for him like water around a ship. Lord Chancellor Greaves rushed forward, effusive and sweating. The Duke nodded once, barely listening, his gaze already moving across the room. Elara watched him the way she watched everything, from a safe distance with mild curiosity and no expectation. He would dance with someone important, probably Lady Seraphine Hale, the young widow everyone whispered about, or perhaps one of the ambassador's daughters. Men like him didn't notice girls like Elara. She was about to look away when his eyes stopped on her. Alara's breath caught. She told herself she was imagining it. He was looking at something behind her. The column, the painting, anything but her. But he didn't move, didn't blink, just stared across the glittering ballroom with an expression she couldn't read. Intensity, recognition, something that made her skin prickle. Then he started walking toward her. Panic seized her throat. She glanced around, certain he must be approaching someone else. But the people near her were already stepping back, confusion rippling outward. Even Isolde had stopped mid-laugh, her perfect mouth falling open. He stopped 3 feet away. Up close, he was worse, or better. She couldn't decide. He was too much, too tall, too solid, too present. His gaze pinned her like a specimen under glass. "Miss Vance?" His voice was low, controlled, edged with something she couldn't name. She couldn't speak. Her mother had prepared her for many scenarios. This wasn't one of them. Yes, I'm Elara Vance. I know. 2 words. They landed like stones. The room had gone silent. Every eye was on them. Elara felt her mother's shock from across the ballroom, sharp as a slap. "I wonder," the Duke said, "if you might grant me a dance." Her mind went blank. I'm not." "You are." He extended his hand. It wasn't a request. She looked at that hand, broad, scarred across the knuckles, steady as granite, and realized she had a choice. Refuse him and create a scandal. Accept and create a different kind of scandal. She took his hand. His fingers closed around hers, warm and certain, and he led her onto the dance floor. The orchestra, which had stopped mid-phrase, scrambled to begin a waltz. Elara had been taught to dance. Every girl of her class had. But she'd never actually danced at a ball. There'd never been a partner, never been a reason. Now she was in the arms of the most powerful man in the realm, and she couldn't remember a single step. "Breathe," he said quietly. She did. He moved, and somehow her body followed. He was a better dancer than she'd expected. Fluid, controlled, leading so clearly she didn't have to think. They turned, and the room spun around them, a blur of shocked faces and whispering mouths. "You're wondering why," he said. "Yes." The word came out strangled. "I'll tell you. Eventually." He paused. "But not here." "I don't understand." "I know. That makes this easier." The waltz ended too quickly and not quickly enough. He released her, stepped back, and inclined his head. A gesture that felt more significant than it should have. "Thank you, Miss Vance." Then he turned and walked away, cutting through the crowd toward Lord Chancellor Greaves. Conversations exploded in his wake. Elara stood frozen in the center of the dance floor, her heart trying to punch through her ribs. Someone grabbed her arm. Her mother, eyes blazing, smile painted on for the watching crowd. "Move!" Lady Marguerite hissed. "Now!" Elara let herself be dragged toward the edge of the room, past staring faces and barely concealed whispers. Her mother's fingers bit into her arm hard enough to bruise. They reached a small antechamber. Her mother shoved her inside and shut the door. What did you do? Nothing. I didn't. He asked you to dance. The Duke of Shadowmere asked you to dance. Why? I don't know. Her mother's hand cracked across her face. The slap wasn't hard, but it was precise, sharp enough to hurt, quiet enough not to be heard through the door. Don't lie to me. Have you met him before? Spoken to him? No, never. I don't even... This ruins everything. Her mother paced, fingers pressed to her temples. Isolde was supposed to catch his attention. You were supposed to be invisible. I was. I am. I didn't do anything. Her mother stopped, eyes narrowing. Then he's toying with you, testing something. Men like him don't notice girls like you unless they want something. The words landed exactly where they were meant to. Alara swallowed, tasting blood from a cut inside her cheek. Go back to the ballroom, her mother said coldly. Stay near the column. Do not speak to him again. Do not look at him. If he approaches you, plead illness and leave. Am I clear? Yes, mother. And fix your hair. You look like you've been dragged through a hedge. Alara touched her hair. It felt fine, but nodded anyway. Her mother swept out, leaving her alone in the small room. She caught a reflection in a mirror. The gray dress, the simple hair, the red mark blooming on her cheek. She looked exactly like what she was. A mistake, a disruption, a girl who'd been noticed by accident and would pay for it. She pressed her palm against the mirror, fingers splayed. Why? Masim. She returned to her column. The ball continued around her, but everything had changed. People stared. Not openly, they were too well bred for that, but she felt their gazes like pinpricks. Speculation hummed beneath every conversation. Isolde appeared at her elbow, champagne in hand, expression unreadable. That was unexpected, Isolde said. I know. Mother's furious. I know that too. Maw. Isolde sipped her champagne, studying Alara with something that might have been curiosity. What did he say to you? Nothing important. Alara, Isolde's voice dropped. The Duke of Shadowmere doesn't dance with anyone. He hasn't danced in 4 years. And he chose you. Why? I don't know, Isolde. I really don't. Her sister's eyes narrowed. Then she shrugged, already losing interest. Well, Lord Ashford is intimidated now. I'll have to work twice as hard. She drifted away, leaving Alara alone again. The evening dragged. Alara stayed in her shadow, watching the clock, counting minutes until she could leave. The Duke had vanished, probably to some private meeting, some place where people like her didn't exist. She told herself it didn't matter. It was a single dance, a fluke. By tomorrow, everyone would forget. But when she finally climbed into the carriage beside her stone-faced mother and glowing sister, when she pressed her forehead against the cold window and watched the Belmont estate disappear, she couldn't shake the feeling that something had broken, or maybe started. The next morning, a letter arrived. Alara was in the library hiding when the butler brought it on a silver tray. The envelope was heavy cream paper, sealed with black wax and a crest she recognized from history books, a thorn wrapped around a crescent moon. The Duke's seal. Her hand shook as she broke it. Miss Vance, I would be honored if you would join me for tea tomorrow at 3. My residence. A carriage will be sent. See, Thorn. That was all. No explanation. No softening pleasantries. She read it 3 times, waiting for the words to make sense. The door opened. Her mother entered, saw the letter, and went very still. What is that? Alara handed it over, watched her mother's face cycle through shock, calculation, and something that looked almost like fear. You'll go, Lady Marguerite said finally. What? You'll accept. Wear the blue day dress, the one with the modest neckline. You'll go, you'll be charming, and you'll find out what he wants. Mother, I don't care what you think. Her mother's voice was ice. This is an opportunity, perhaps the only one you'll ever have. You will not waste it. Alara looked at the letter again, at the bold, sharp handwriting, at the signature that carried the weight of armies. What if You'll be fine. You're plain, but you're not stupid. Use that. Her mother moved toward the door, then paused. And Alara, don't embarrass us. The door closed. Alara sat alone in the library, the letter heavy in her hands, and wondered if she'd just been given a gift or a sentence. She still didn't know the answer when the Duke's carriage arrived the next day. Black lacquered wood, silver fittings, drawn by horses that looked like they could run through walls. The driver handed her in without a word. The ride took 20 minutes. The Thorne residence sat on the northern edge of the city, separated from the social district by stone walls and old trees. It wasn't as large as she'd expected. No sprawling palace, no ostentatious display. Just a solid manor house built from dark stone, surrounded by gardens that looked tended but not manicured. The door opened before she could knock. The man who answered wasn't a butler. He was too young, too military in bearing, probably the Duke's aide. He nodded once. "Miss Vance? This way." She followed him through a hall lined with maps and weapons instead of portraits. No guilt, no excess. Everything functional, purposeful. It felt nothing like the homes she knew. He led her to a small sitting room. Afternoon light poured through tall windows. The furniture was simple: leather chairs, a low table, shelves lined with books that looked red instead of decorative. The Duke stood by this window, hands clasped behind his back, watching the garden. He turned when she entered. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then he gestured to a chair. "Please, sit." She did. He sat across from her, movements economical, controlled. A maid appeared, set tea between them, and vanished. The Duke poured. His hands were steady. "Thank you for coming," he said. "I wasn't sure I had a choice." His mouth twitched. Not quite a smile. "You always have a choice, Miss Vance." "Do I?" He set down the teapot, studied her. "You're afraid." "Yes." "Of me?" "Of what you want." He nodded slowly, like she'd confirmed something. "That's fair. Most people in your position would lie. Say they're honored, flattered, you're honest. I appreciate that." "My mother would be horrified." "I'm sure she would." He leaned back. "What did she tell you? About today?" Alara hesitated, then figured honesty had gotten her this far. "She told me to find out what you want, and not to embarrass her. And what do you think I want?" "I don't know. That's what frightens me." The Duke was quiet for a long moment. Then he did something unexpected. He smiled. It wasn't much, just a softening around his eyes, a slight curve of his mouth, but it changed his entire face, made him look younger, human. "I want," he said carefully, "to know if you remember me." Alara blinked. "I've never met you before the ball." "Yes, you have." He set down his cup. 5 years ago, the crossing garden. You were 17. He stopped. "I was in a dark place." She stared at him, mind racing backward. The crossing garden was a public park, open to anyone. She'd gone there sometimes to escape her mother, to sit alone and read. 5 years ago, she would have been... The memory surfaced like something dredged from deep water. A man on a bench, late autumn. He'd been sitting alone, head in his hands, shoulders shaking. She'd almost walked past. Should have walked past. But something about the way he held himself, like he was collapsing inward, had stopped her. She'd approached carefully, asked if he was all right. He'd looked up, red-eyed, wrecked, and she'd nearly run. But she hadn't. She'd sat down, offered him her handkerchief, waited. He'd told her his brother had died. Riding accident, sudden, senseless. She'd sat with him for an hour, maybe more. Hadn't offered platitudes. Hadn't tried to fix it, just sat. Listened. Let him grieve. When he'd finally stood to leave, he'd thanked her. She'd told him she was sorry for his loss. He'd walked away, and she'd never seen him again. Until the ball. "You," she whispered. "Me. But you didn't look..." "I wasn't Duke yet. That came later after my father died. I was just Calum Thorne, second son, grieving my brother." He paused. "You didn't know who I was?" "No. I just thought you looked like you needed someone." "I did." His voice went rough. "I'd been about to do something stupid, permanent. You stopped me." The weight of that settled over her like snow. I didn't do anything special. I just sat there. You treated me like a person, not a title, not a tool, not a transaction. He met her eyes. Do you know how rare that is? She thought of her life, of her mother's calculations, of every interaction measured for advantage. Yes, she said quietly. I know. They sat in silence. The tea cooled between them. Why now, she asked. Why find me after 5 years? I didn't find you. I saw you. At the ball. He leaned forward. I've thought about you often. Wondered who you were. If you were real or something I'd invented in my grief. Then I walked into that ballroom, and there you were. In the shadows. Alone. His jaw tightened. Being ignored by everyone who should have seen you. That's where I belong. No. The word was sharp. It's where you've been put. There's a difference. Ilara's throat tightened. She looked down at her hands, at the tea she hadn't touched. Your Grace. Calum. When we're alone, call me Calum. Calum, she tried. It felt strange, too intimate. I don't understand what you want from me, and I want to know you. The person who saved my life with kindness. He stopped, searching for words. I want to see if what I felt that day, that you were someone extraordinary, was true. I'm not extraordinary. I'm the forgotten daughter, the spare, the shadow. Then maybe, he said quietly, I see things others don't. The tea had gone cold by the time Ilara left the Duke's residence. She'd stayed longer than intended, 2 hours that felt like 20 minutes and 20 years simultaneously. They talked about nothing important, books, gardens, the way sunlight changed throughout the day, small things that felt enormous because no one had ever asked her opinion on them before. When the carriage returned her home, her mother was waiting in the foyer like a hawk over a mouse hole. Well, or, oh ma, what, Ilara removed her gloves carefully, buying time. He was polite. I don't care about polite. What does he want? To see me again. Her mother's expression flickered, calculation running behind her eyes like an abacus. When? He asked if I'd attend the opera with him Thursday. The opera. Lady Marguerite's lips thinned. He's courting you publicly. I don't think... Of course he is. Men like the Duke don't waste time on tea parties. Her mother paced, hands clasped tight. This is good. This is... Isolde will be furious, but this is good. You'll accept. Wear the burgundy gown with the pearl collar. Not too much jewelry. You want to look refined, not desperate. Mother, he's not courting me. He's just... You don't know what he's doing. That's the point. Her mother stopped, fixed her with a stare that could have cracked glass. You will go. You will be charming. And you will find out exactly what his intentions are. Do you understand? Ilara understood perfectly. She was being deployed like a chess piece, the forgotten daughter suddenly useful. Yes, mother. Good. Now go fix your hair. You look windblown. Ilara climbed the stairs to her room, where Isolde was waiting, draped across the window seat like a dissatisfied cat. So? Isolde asked without preamble. Is he mad? Damaged? What's wrong with him that he'd choose you? The words should have stung. They didn't anymore. Ilara had built up a callous against her sister's casual cruelty. Nothing's wrong with him. Then there's something wrong with you that I'm not seeing. Isolde tilted her head, studying Ilara like a puzzle missing pieces. Or maybe he likes them plain, malleable, easy to control. Maybe he just likes me. Isolde laughed, a bright cutting sound. No one just likes anyone, Ilara. Everyone wants something. You'll figure out what he wants soon enough. And when you do, don't come crying to me when it breaks your heart. She swept out, leaving perfume and poison in equal measure. Ilara stood alone in her room, looking at her reflection in the mirror. Plain face. Ordinary eyes. Nothing that should have caught a Duke's attention. Maybe I see things others don't. His words echoed. She didn't know if they were a promise or a warning. The week that followed felt like living in someone else's skin. The Duke sent flowers. Simple white roses. Not the excessive arrangements other suitors favored. He sent books with notes tucked inside. recommending passages he thought she'd enjoy. He sent a bracelet made of silver and moonstone, elegant and understated. Her mother cataloged each gift like evidence. Isolde grew colder. The household staff whispered, and Alara felt herself being pulled between two worlds, the one where she was invisible and the one where the most powerful man in the realm saw her. Thursday arrived too quickly. The burgundy gown fit perfectly. Her mother had insisted on a maid doing her hair, twisted up with pearl pins, more elaborate than Alara usually wore. She looked like someone else, someone important. She hated it, and felt guilty for hating it. The Duke's carriage arrived precisely at 7. This time, Calum himself stepped out, dressed in deep charcoal with a silver waistcoat. He looked devastating. Several neighbors happened to be outside, coincidentally, watching. He offered his hand. "You look beautiful." "I look like my mother dressed me." His mouth quirked. "Then your mother has excellent taste. She has strategic taste. There's a difference." He handed her into the carriage and she caught the slight smile he was trying to hide. Good. If he was going to upend her entire life, she could at least make him work for it. The opera house blazed with light and ego. Every important family in the city would be there, packed into gilded boxes, watching each other more than the stage. Alara had attended twice before, both times sitting in the back of her family's box, hidden behind her mother and sister. Tonight she entered on the Duke's arm. The effect was nuclear. Conversation stopped mid-sentence. Fans froze. A woman dropped her program. Alara felt every eye in the lobby turn toward them, felt the weight of their shock and speculation pressing down like a physical force. "Breathe," Calum murmured, the same thing he'd said during their dance. "I'm breathing. You're holding your breath, I can tell." "How?" "Your hand is crushing mine." She loosened her grip. "Sorry." "Don't be. I've survived worse." He guided her through the crowd with the ease of someone who'd never questioned his right to occupy space. People parted automatically. Some greeted him. He nodded, offered brief pleasantries, kept moving. Others stared openly at Alara, trying to reconcile the forgotten Vance daughter with the woman on the Duke's arm. She recognized Lady Seraphine Hale near the stairs, the beautiful widow everyone assumed Calum would eventually marry. Seraphine's expression was glacial. "Your Grace," Seraphine said, stepping into their path with practiced elegance. "What a surprise." "Lady Hale." Calum's tone was polite, distant. "May I introduce Miss Alara Vance?" Seraphine's eyes flicked over Alara like she was evaluating livestock. "We've met. Briefly. I didn't realize you were acquainted with the Duke." "We're friends," Alara said, surprising herself. "Friends." Seraphine's smile sharpened. "How charming. Enjoy the performance." She glided away, radiating displeasure. Calum's jaw tightened. "Ignore her," he said quietly. "She expected you to pursue her." Then she expected wrong. They climbed to the Duke's box. Front and center, impossible to miss. Alara could feel hundreds of eyes tracking them. The box was intimate, just 2 chairs positioned close together. Calum held hers out, waited until she sat, then settled beside her. The lights dimmed, the orchestra swelled, the curtain rose. Alara tried to focus on the performance, something dramatic involving betrayal and revenge. But her awareness kept returning to Calum, the way he leaned slightly toward her during quieter moments. The way his hand rested near hers on the armrest, not touching, but close enough that she felt the heat of his skin. During the first intermission, the door to their box opened. Lord Chancellor Greaves entered, sweating despite the cool evening, accompanied by a younger man Alara didn't recognize. "Your Grace, forgive the intrusion," Greaves began. "Allow me to introduce Baron Thaddeus Crane. He's recently returned from the eastern provinces and was hoping for a moment of your time." Calum's expression didn't change, but something in his posture went rigid. "Of course. Miss Vance, would you mind giving us a moment?" It wasn't really a question. Alara stood, feeling dismissed, and slipped out into the corridor. The crowd had spilled out of the boxes, mingling and gossiping. She tried to make herself small, invisible again, but it didn't work. Not anymore. "Alara Vance! Well, well." She turned. 2 women she vaguely recognized from various society functions stood behind her, expressions sharp with curiosity. "Lady Victoria, Miss Pemberton." Alara nodded politely. "So the rumors are true," Lady Victoria said. "The Duke has taken an interest." "We're acquainted, yes, he..." Acquainted. Miss Pemberton's laugh was too loud. Darling, the Duke doesn't bring acquaintances to the opera. He's staking a claim. I don't think— Of course you don't. You're not equipped to think about these things. Lady Victoria leaned closer, voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper that carried perfectly. But you should know, men like the Duke don't marry girls like you. They use them, enjoy them, then move on to appropriate matches. The words hit like slaps. Alara felt her face heat, her throat close. I appreciate the advice, she managed. It's not advice, dear. It's a warning. Lady Victoria smiled, all teeth. You're out of your depth. Everyone can see it. Best to swim back to shore before you drown. They walked away, laughter trailing behind them. Alara stood frozen in the corridor, chest tight, eyes burning. She wanted to run, wanted to disappear, but she'd learned long ago that running just made the hunters chase harder. Miss Vance? She turned. Baron Crane stood a few feet away, watching her with an expression she couldn't read. Are you all right? He asked. Fine, just needed air. Those women are vipers. Ignore them. It's easier said than done. He stepped closer, too close. She could smell wine on his breath. The Duke is lucky. You're quite lovely when you're not hiding in corners. I should return to the box. In a moment. His hand caught her wrist. Not hard, but firm. I've been watching you. All evening. You don't belong here, do you? In this world. With these people. Please let go. Why is he interested in you? What did you do to catch his attention? I didn't do anything. Let go. Oh, his grip tightened. You must have done something. Women like you don't attract men like him without trying very hard. Remove your hand. Calem's voice came from behind her, cold enough to frost glass. Baron Crane released her immediately, stumbling back. Your Grace, I was just leaving. You were just leaving. Calem moved between them, blocking Crane from Alara entirely. And you won't speak to Miss Vance again. You won't look at her. You won't think about her. Am I clear? Of course. My apologies. I didn't mean— Get out! Crane fled. The corridor emptied around them, people suddenly finding reasons to be elsewhere. Calem turned to Alara, jaw tight, eyes scanning her face. Did he hurt you? No, just grabbed my wrist. I'm fine. You're not fine. You're shaking. She was. She hadn't noticed. He guided her back into the box, closed the door, and poured water from a crystal carafe. Drink. She did. Her hand steadied. Calem watched her with an intensity that made her feel transparent. This is my fault, he said finally. I should have anticipated this. The attention, the cruelty. It's not your fault that people are terrible. No, but it's my fault for putting you in their crosshairs. He sat down heavily, running a hand through his hair, the first time she'd seen him look anything less than perfectly controlled. Maybe this was a mistake. Something sharp twisted in Alara's chest. What was? This. Us. I thought I could give you something better than shadows. But all I'm doing is making you a target. So what? You're going to disappear? Pretend we're not friends? I don't want you to get hurt because of me. Too late. The words came out harsher than she intended. I've been hurt my whole life. By my mother. My sister. Everyone who decided I wasn't worth seeing. At least with you, I chose this. He looked up, something raw in his expression. Did you? Choose this? I'm here, aren't I? You could leave, right now, walk away. I wouldn't blame you. Alara thought about it, about returning to her corner, her shadows, her safe invisibility, about never feeling this terrifying pull towards something, someone that might destroy her. No, she said. No, I'm not leaving. Not because of Lady Victoria, not because of Baron Crane, not because you're afraid of damaging me. She met his eyes. I'm tired of being protected from living. Calem stared at her for a long moment. Then he smiled, a real smile, broad and genuine and so unexpected it changed his entire face. You're extraordinary, he said quietly. I'm stubborn. There's a difference. Not to me. The orchestra started again. The second act began, but neither of them watched the stage. They sat in the dim box, hands finally touching on the armrest, and Alara felt something shift inside her, a door opening that she'd kept locked her entire life. When the opera ended, Caleb escorted her home. The carriage ride was quiet, comfortable, punctuated by small observations about the performance and the absurdity of society. He walked her to the door, paused on the step. "Same time next week?" he asked. "There's a concert at the Riverside Gallery. Smaller crowd, less opportunity for strangers to grab you." "I'd like that." "Good." He hesitated, then lifted her hand and pressed his lips to her knuckles, a brief, warm touch that sent electricity up her arm. "Sleep well, Alara." He was gone before she could respond, disappearing into the carriage. She stood on the step, hand tingling, heart racing. The door opened. Her mother stood in the entry, backlit and furious. "Inside, now!" Alara followed her into the drawing room. Isolde was there too, curled in a chair, expression unreadable. Lady Marguerite closed the door with excessive care, the kind of calm that preceded violence. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" "I attended the opera, as you instructed." "Boy!" "John Baum, you made a spectacle of yourself. Every gossip in the city is talking about the Duke and the forgotten Vance's daughter. They're laughing at us. Let them laugh." Her mother's hand flew, faster than Alara expected. The slap cracked across her face, hard enough to snap her head sideways. Her cheek exploded with heat. "You will not speak to me that way. You will not jeopardize this family's standing because some duke is amusing himself with you." Alara touched her cheek, felt the sting, and something inside her finally broke. Not broke open, broke free. "He's not amusing himself. He cares about me." "Don't be stupid. Men like him don't care about girls like you. He's using you to avoid the women he's supposed to marry. And when he's done, he'll discard you and will be left with the wreckage of your reputation." "Maybe I don't care about reputation." "Then you're a fool, Bang." "Maybe." Alara straightened, meeting her mother's eyes. "But I'd rather be a fool who's seen than a shadow who's safe." Her mother went very still. Isolde sat up, suddenly interested. "What did you say?" "I'm done hiding. I'm done being invisible because it makes your life easier. If the Duke wants to see me, I'm going to let him." "You'll ruin everything." "Good. Because everything you've built is rotten." The silence that followed was absolute. Lady Marguerite's face cycled through shock, rage, and something that might have been fear. "Get out," she said quietly. "What?" "Get out. Go to your room. Don't come down until you're ready to apologize." Alara left. She climbed the stairs slowly, feeling the weight of what she'd just done settling over her like snow. When she reached her room, she locked the door, pressed her back against it, and slid down to the floor. Her face throbbed, her hands shook, but underneath the fear and pain, she felt something she'd never felt before. Free. She stayed there until dawn, watching the light change through her window, wondering if freedom was worth the price she'd just agreed to pay. Somewhere in the house below, she heard her mother's voice, sharp, commanding, making plans. Isolde's lighter tone responding. The familiar machinery of control grinding forward. But for the first time in her life, Alara wasn't part of it. She was something else. Something was different. For 3 days after the opera, her mother didn't speak to her, didn't summon her, didn't acknowledge her existence beyond cold glances across the breakfast table. Isolde followed suit, treating Alara like furniture that had suddenly become inconvenient. The silence should have felt familiar. Instead, it felt like waiting for an axe to fall. On the 4th morning, a letter arrived. Not from Caleb, from the Riverside Gallery, confirming her attendance at Friday's concert. Her mother intercepted it in the foyer, read it without asking permission, and handed it back without a word. That afternoon, Lady Marguerite called her to the drawing room. Her mother stood by the window, posture rigid, fingers laced so tight the knuckles had gone white. When she turned, her expression was carefully neutral, which was somehow worse than anger. "Sit." Alara sat. "I've been thinking," her mother began, voice controlled, "about your situation with the Duke. It's not a situation. We're friends." "Don't interrupt." Lady Marguerite moved to the mantel, straightened a frame that didn't need straightening. You've made your feelings clear. You want to pursue this. Attachment. Against my advice. Against all reason. Yes. Then I won't stop you. Alara's stomach dropped. Her mother never surrendered. Never. What? You're 22. Old enough to make your own choices. Old enough to face the consequences. Her mother's smile was thin, sharp. If you want to throw yourself at the Duke, hoping he'll catch you, that's your decision. But understand this. When he doesn't, when he marries someone appropriate and leaves you ruined, I will not clean up the mess. You'll have made your bed. You'll lie in it. He's not going to... You don't know what he's going to do. That's the point. You're gambling everything on a man you barely know, and you're too naive to see how badly this will end. She picked up a small box from the side table, held it out. But go ahead, wear this to the concert. Look pretty. Enjoy it while it lasts. Alara took the box. Inside was a necklace. Delicate gold chain with a single sapphire pendant. Beautiful. Expensive. Completely unlike anything her mother had ever given her. I don't understand. You will. Her mother's expression was unreadable. Eventually, you'll understand exactly what I've given you. She left. Alara sat holding the box, turning it over in her hands, feeling like she'd just agreed to something without knowing the terms. The concert was smaller than the opera, held in an intimate gallery lined with paintings and soft lighting. Caleb arrived at her door himself again, and this time her mother answered, smiled graciously, and wished them a pleasant evening with a warmth that made Alara's skin crawl. Your mother seems different, Caleb observed once they were in the carriage. She's planning something. Should I be worried? I don't know yet. Alara touched the sapphire at her throat. She gave me this, told me to wear it. Caleb studied the necklace, frowning slightly. It's beautiful. It's strategic. Everything she does is strategic. Then we'll be careful. The gallery was everything he'd promised, quiet, refined, filled with people who came for the music rather than the gossip. They found seats near the back, away from the main crowd. The quartet played Handel, then something modern and strange that Alara didn't recognize but found herself drawn into. Between movements, Caleb leaned close. Better than the opera? Much better. No one's grabbed my wrist yet. The evening's young. She smiled despite herself. They'd fallen into this easy rhythm, gentle teasing, comfortable silence, conversations that went deeper than either of them probably intended. She was learning things about him, that he hated formal dinners but loved strategy games, that he'd wanted to be a scholar before duty made him a duke, that he slept badly and read too much, and sometimes forgot to eat when he was working. She told him things too, about the books she hid in her room, about the garden she'd planted in secret behind the estate, about the life she'd built inside her head because the real one was too small. During the intermission, they wandered the gallery, examining paintings. Caleb stopped in front of a landscape, mountains and mist, lonely and vast. My brother loved mountains, he said quietly. He died trying to reach the northern peaks. They said the horse spooked, through him. But I think... He stopped, jaw tight. I think he was running from something, maybe from becoming what I became. Alara touched his arm. You can't know that. No, but I think it anyway. Does it help, thinking it? No. He looked at her, something raw in his expression. But talking about it does. I never could before. Before you. The words hung between them, weighted with meaning neither of them was ready to name. Then the lights flickered, signal for the second half, and they returned to their seats. The quartet had barely started when Alara felt it, a prickling sensation on the back of her neck, the awareness of being watched. She scanned the crowd. Most people faced forward, absorbed in the music. But 3 rows ahead, a man sat turned slightly in his seat, eyes fixed on her. Baron Crane. Her chest tightened. Caleb noticed immediately. What's wrong? He's here. The Baron. Caleb followed her gaze, went very still. Stay close to me. I am close to you. Closer. The concert continued, but Alara couldn't focus. Crane's attention felt like oil on her skin, slick, invasive, wrong. When the final piece ended and the crowd applauded, she stood quickly, ready to leave. But Crane was faster. He intercepted them near the exit, face flushed with wine, smile too wide. "Your Grace! Miss Vance! What a coincidence!" "Baron." Caleb's voice could have cut stone. "We were just leaving." Of course. But I wanted to apologize for the other night. I was discourteous. Too much champagne, you understand." His eyes slid to Alara. "I hope you can forgive me, Miss Vance." "There's nothing to forgive." She tried to move past him. He stepped sideways, blocking her. "Actually, I was hoping for a word, in private, just to clear the air properly." "Ikim. No," Caleb said flatly. "Your Grace, surely you can spare her for a moment." I said no. Crane's smile hardened. "With respect, Your Grace, I'm not asking your permission. I'm asking hers." He looked at Alara. "What do you say, Miss Vance? Can we speak? Just for a moment?" Every instinct screamed at her to refuse. But people were watching now, curious, sensing conflict. If she refused, it would become a scene. Her mother's warnings echoed. "Don't embarrass the family. Don't make spectacles." "One moment," she heard herself say. "Here, in the hallway." Caleb's hand tightened on her arm. "Alara, it's fine. I'll be fine." She wasn't fine, but she'd spent 22 years pretending, and old habits died hard. Crane led her to a quieter corner of the gallery, away from the main crowd, but still visible. Still public. Safe, she told herself. "Thank you," he began. "I really am sorry about the opera. I had too much to drink, and I said things I shouldn't have. Apology accepted. Can I go now?" "In a moment." He moved closer, lowering his voice. "I need to warn you about something. The Duke. He's not what you think he is. I'm not interested in gossip. It's not gossip. It's fact." Crane glanced around, making sure they weren't overheard. "He's dangerous, Miss Vance. Powerful men always are, and he's using you." "You don't know what you're talking about." I know exactly what I'm talking about. I've known men like him my whole life. They take what they want and discard what they don't need. Right now you're useful. Maybe you amuse him. Maybe you're different from the women who throw themselves at him. But eventually, he'll tire of you. And when he does, that's between him and me. Is it? Crane's expression sharpened. Because from where I'm standing, you're the daughter of an ambitious social climber who's desperate to secure her family's position. The Duke is a prize, and you're the bait. The words hit harder than they should have, because wasn't that exactly what her mother had tried to make her? A tool, a strategy. "I should go, Wait." He caught her hand, gently this time, but still uninvited. "I'm not trying to hurt you. I'm trying to help. You're out of your depth, and you don't even realize it. Let go of me. Listen to me." She said, "Let go." Caleb's voice came from directly behind her, low and lethal. Crane released her hand immediately, stepping back. "Your Grace, I was just leaving permanently." Caleb moved between them, and Alara saw something in his face she'd never seen before. Cold, absolute fury, barely leashed. "You will not speak to Miss Vance again. You will not approach her. You will not exist in her proximity. If I see you within 10 feet of her, I will destroy you. Am I clear?" Crane had gone pale. "Your Grace, there's no need for threats, and..." That wasn't a threat. It was a promise. Caleb took Alara's arm, gentle with her, granite with everyone else. "We're done here." He guided her out, through the thinning crowd, into the cool night air. She was shaking again, anger or fear or both, she couldn't tell. "I'm sorry," she managed. "I shouldn't have agreed to talk to him." "You shouldn't have had to refuse. He shouldn't have asked." Caleb's jaw was still tight, hands clenched. "I'm going to make sure he regrets this." "Don't. It's not worth it. He touched you, twice. It's worth it." "Caleb, no." He stopped, turned to face her fully. "I know you're used to tolerating this. Being polite when men are terrible. Accepting it as the price of existing. But I won't tolerate it. Not with you." The intensity in his voice, in his eyes, made her breath catch. In his voice, this wasn't the controlled Duke everyone feared. This was someone raw and real and possibly a little dangerous. Why? She asked. Why do you care so much? He looked at her for a long moment and she saw him make a decision. Because 5 years ago, you treated me like a person when I was falling apart. You didn't want anything from me. You just saw someone in pain and you stopped. His voice roughened. No one had done that before. No one's done it since. And when I saw you at that ball standing in the shadows where everyone had put you, I thought, maybe I could do the same. Maybe I could see you when no one else would. Caleb, I'm not finished. He stepped closer. I know what people think, that this is temporary, that I'm amusing myself, that I'll wake up one day and remember my duty and marry someone appropriate. But they're wrong. I don't want appropriate. I want you. The words hit her like a wave. She opened her mouth, couldn't find air. You don't have to say anything, he continued. I know this is fast. I know I'm probably terrifying you, but I needed you to know, before this goes any further. Before your mother or Baron Crane or anyone else tries to convince you this isn't real. Is it real? Her voice came out barely above a whisper. Yes. How can you be sure? Because I've spent 5 years trying to forget you and failed every time. But she stared at him, this powerful, dangerous man, and saw the truth of it written across his face. He meant every word, which made it infinitely more terrifying. I don't know how to do this, she admitted. I don't know how to be the person you think I am. You already are that person. You just need to stop hiding her. He was right and wrong, and she didn't know which frightened her more. The carriage ride home was quiet, both of them lost in separate thoughts. When they arrived at her estate, Caleb walked her to the door, paused on the step. There's something else you should know, he said. Next week there's a masquerade at Lord Ashcroft's estate, the event of the season. I'd like you to come with me. A masquerade? Masks, dancing, terrible decisions in dark corners, all the best elements of high society in one evening. He smiled slightly. Also, I despise them. But if you're there, it might be bearable. My mother will insist I go anyway. She won't miss an opportunity like that. Then come with me instead. Make it your choice, not hers. Alara thought about it, about her mother's plans, about Baron Crane's warnings, about Caleb's confession and the weight of it still settling in her chest. I'll think about it, she said. That's all I ask. He lifted her hand, pressed his lips to her knuckles again, becoming their ritual, this small intimacy. Sleep well, Alara. She watched him disappear into the carriage, then turned to find her mother in the doorway, expression unreadable in the shadows. Inside, Lady Marguerite said quietly. Alara followed her to the drawing room. Isolde was there again, witness to whatever was about to unfold. Did he propose? Her mother asked without preamble. What? No. Did he make promises? Alara hesitated. Her mother's eyes sharpened. He did. What did he promise you? Nothing. He said he cares about me. Cares? Her mother's laugh was brittle. Men say a lot of things when they want something, Alara, especially powerful men. He's not like that. But they're all like that. Lady Marguerite poured herself wine, drank half the glass. But fine, let's say he means it. Let's say the Duke of Shadowmere genuinely wants you. What happens next? I don't know. Exactly. You don't know, because you're thinking with your heart instead of your head. She set down the glass. So let me tell you what happens. He courts you publicly. Everyone watches, waits, judges. And eventually, maybe in a month, maybe a year, he'll realize what everyone else already knows. That you're not enough, not pretty enough, not charming enough, not important enough. And he'll end it. You don't know that. It's a lot. I know how this world works. I know what happens to girls who reach too high and fall too hard. Her mother's voice softened, almost gentle. I'm not trying to hurt you, Alara. I'm trying to protect you. By telling me I'm not good enough? By telling you the truth, before it destroys you. Alara looked at her mother, at the lines around her eyes, the tightness in her jaw, the fear poorly hidden beneath calculation. And she realized something. Her mother wasn't just protecting the family's reputation. She was protecting herself. from the possibility that Alara might succeed where she'd failed, that the forgotten daughter might claim a prize the golden one couldn't. "I'm going to the masquerade with him," Alara said quietly. Her mother went very still. "What?" "The masquerade. Next week. I'm going with Calum." "You will do no such thing. Isolde is attending with Lord Ashford. This is her chance to secure—" "I don't care about Isolde's chances. I care about mine." The silence that followed was absolute. Isolde sat up, eyes wide. Lady Marguerite's face cycled through shock, rage, and something that looked almost like grief. "If you do this," her mother said slowly, "if you choose him over your family, there will be consequences." "What kind of consequences?" "The kind you can't undo." Her mother's smile was terrible. "But go ahead. Make your choice. Just remember, I gave you every chance to walk away." Alara left before her mother could say more, climbed the stairs to her room, locked the door, sat on the edge of her bed and tried to stop shaking. She'd just drawn a line, made her stand, and somewhere in the house below, her mother was planning her next move. The days that followed felt like watching storm clouds gather. Her mother was too calm, too accommodating. When Alara mentioned needing a gown for the masquerade, Lady Marguerite arranged for the finest dressmaker in the city. When she asked about masks, her mother provided 3 options, each more elaborate than the last. "Choose whichever you prefer." Her mother said pleasantly, "You should look your best." The generosity felt like poison wrapped in silk. Isolde was different too, less hostile, more watchful. She'd corner Alara in hallways, ask seemingly casual questions about Calum, about their conversations, about what he'd promised. "He really said he wants you?" Isolde asked one afternoon, genuine confusion in her voice. "Yes. But why?" "I don't know, Isolde. Maybe because I listen when he talks." Her sister frowned, like the concept was foreign. "Lord Ashford talks at me constantly. I never listen. It seems to work fine. Maybe that's the difference." The dress arrived 3 days before the masquerade. Midnight blue silk that shimmered like water, cut to fit her perfectly. The mask matched, delicate silver filigree shaped like wings. When Alara looked at herself in the mirror, she barely recognized the reflection. She looked beautiful, important, visible. She hated how much she wanted it to be true. The night of the masquerade arrived cold and clear. The Ashcroft estate sprawled across the southern hills, lit up like a jewel box. Hundreds of guests would attend, everyone who mattered and dozens who didn't but pretended they did. Calum arrived at 7, dressed in black with a simple black mask that somehow made him more imposing. When he saw her, he stopped in the doorway, just stared. "You look—" He stopped, started again. "I don't have words. Good words or bad words? Devastating words." He offered his arm. "Ready?" "No, but let's go anyway." Her mother appeared at the top of the stairs, resplendent in emerald silk. "How lovely you both look. Alara, don't forget, stay visible. Make an impression." The words felt wrong, too supportive, too simple. Calum must have felt it too. His hand tightened on hers as they left. The Ashcroft ballroom was chaos and beauty in equal measure. Masked figures swirled across the dance floor. Champagne flowed. Music pulsed. The anonymity of masks made everyone bolder, louder, less careful. Calum kept Alara close, navigating the crowd with practiced ease. They danced twice, spoke with Lord Chancellor Greaves and several other officials, avoided Lady Seraphine's icy glare. Around midnight, Alara excused herself to find the powder room. Calum hesitated, clearly reluctant to let her go alone. "I'll be 5 minutes," she promised. "I'll be counting." She slipped through the crowd, found the hallway leading to the ladies' retiring room. The corridor was quieter, cooler, a relief after the suffocating ballroom. She was halfway down the hall when she heard voices, familiar voices. Her mother, and someone else, male, angry. "Promise this would work," the man was saying. "It will work. Just be patient." "Patient? I've been patient for weeks. When exactly—" Alara pressed herself against the wall, hidden in shadow, heart hammering. "Tonight," her mother said firmly, "at the unmasking. Everyone will see. The Duke will be humiliated, and you'll get what you want. I'd better, because if this fails, It won't fail, trust me. Footsteps, moving away. Alara waited until silence returned, then stumbled toward the powder room on shaking legs. Her mother was planning something that involved her, something designed to humiliate Calum. At the unmasking, she found a chair, sat down hard, tried to think. The unmasking happened at 1 o'clock. Traditional end to every masquerade, when everyone removed their masks and revealed themselves. A ceremonial moment, public, witnessed by hundreds. Whatever her mother had planned, it would happen then. Alara had less than an hour to figure out what and stop it. She returned to the ballroom, searching for Calum, found him near the terrace, talking with several military advisors. He saw her, excused himself immediately. What's wrong? We need to leave, now. What happened? My mother, she's planning something bad, at the unmasking. His expression hardened. What kind of something? I don't know, but she wants to humiliate you, us. We should go before… No. What? We're not running. He took her hands, held them firmly. Whatever she's planned, we'll face it. Calum, you don't understand. She's been too calm, too helpful. This whole time she's been setting something up. Yeah, I know. His voice was gentle. I've known since the opera, since she gave you that necklace and started being supportive. She's planning something, but if we run, we're admitting defeat, and I won't do that. Not to her. But trust me, please. She looked into his eyes, saw absolute certainty there, and realized he meant it. He knew her mother was dangerous, knew something terrible was coming, and he was choosing to stay anyway. All right, she whispered. We stay. They returned to the center of the ballroom. The crowd had grown, packed tight, anticipation building. Midnight had passed. 1 o'clock approached. Alara searched the crowd for her mother, found her near the orchestra, speaking to a man in an ornate gold mask. Baron Crane. It had to be. The pieces fell into place with horrible clarity. Her mother and Crane, working together, planning something for the unmasking. The clock struck 1. Lord Ashcroft raised his hands, calling for silence. The music stopped. Hundreds of masked faces turned toward him. My friends, Ashcroft announced, voice carrying across the ballroom, the hour of revelation has arrived. Remove your masks and toast to another successful season. Around them, people began removing their masks. Laughter, recognition, the ceremonial chaos of being seen. Alara reached for her mask. Calum caught her hand. Wait, he murmured. She froze, watched the crowd, watched her mother, who was watching them with an expression of terrible triumph. Then Baron Crane stepped forward, removed his mask, and raised his voice. Before we toast, he called out, I believe we should acknowledge the evening's most unexpected pairing. Duke Thorne and Miss Vance, a love story for the ages, wouldn't you say? People turned, stared, whispered. Calum's hand tightened on Alara's, but his face remained calm. Indeed, Crane continued, moving closer. The powerful Duke and the forgotten sister. How romantic, how unlikely. He paused, smile sharpening. How convenient. Crane. Calum's voice was low. Warning. Don't. Don't what? Tell the truth? That Lady Marguerite Vance has been orchestrating this from the beginning? That she placed her daughter in your path, knowing your weakness for sad stories and broken things? The room went silent. Every eye turned to them, to Alara. That's not… she started. Isn't it? Crane pulled a folded paper from his pocket, held it up. I have here a letter from Lady Marguerite herself, detailing her entire strategy, how she learned about your encounter in the garden 5 years ago, how she positioned Alara to be noticed, how she coached her daughter to be exactly what you needed, quiet, kind, wounded, the perfect bait for a grieving duke. The words hit Alara like physical blows. She looked at her mother, saw no denial, just cold satisfaction. That's a lie, Calum said, voice deadly calm. Is it? Why don't we ask Miss Vance herself? Crane turned to Alara. Tell us, dear, did your mother know about the Duke's history before the ball? Did she prepare you? Alara's mind raced. Her mother had known about the ball, had insisted Alara stand near that column, had positioned her exactly where Caleb would see her. But the rest, the kindness, the conversations, the connection, that had been real, hadn't it? My mother, her voice shook. She knew about the ball. But I never, she didn't need to know, Crane said gently, like he was helping her. She was just following orders, playing her part, the forgotten daughter suddenly worthy of a duke's attention. What a performance. The crowd murmured. Alara felt their judgment like weight on her chest. She looked at Kylam, saw something terrible in his face. Not anger, doubt. Caleb, she whispered, it's not true. I didn't know. Didn't you? His voice was flat, empty. Your mother positioned you, dressed you, coached you, and you went along with all of it. Because I didn't know. I thought you chose me. Maybe I did. Or maybe I chose exactly what your mother wanted me to choose. The words were knives. Alara felt something inside her crack, felt tears burning her eyes. You can't believe this. You can't think I would. I don't know what to think. He stepped back, releasing her hand. I need to think. He turned and walked away, cutting through the crowd. People parted for him, then immediately closed in around Alara, faces curious, pitying, cruel. She stood frozen in the center of the ballroom, mask still on, world crumbling around her. Her mother approached, expression carefully neutral. Come, Alara, Lady Marguerite said quietly. We should go home. You did this, Alara's voice shook. You planned all of this. I protected you from yourself and your foolish dreams by destroying the one good thing I've ever had. Yeah. By showing you the truth. That men like the Duke don't choose girls like you. They're manipulated into it. And when they realize it, they always walk away. Her mother's smile was terrible. Better you learn that now than later. Alara looked at her mother, at the woman who'd spent 22 years making her invisible, then 1 month destroying her only chance at being seen, and felt something inside her finally, irreversibly break. I hate you, she whispered. I know, her mother said, but you'll thank me eventually. The crowd was still watching, still whispering. Alara couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't do anything except stand there while her entire life collapsed. Then she ran. Through the ballroom, down the marble steps, into the gardens. She didn't know where she was going, didn't care, just needed to escape the staring faces, the whispers, the weight of everything she'd just lost. She found herself near a fountain, collapsed onto a stone bench, and finally let herself shatter. She'd been right all along. Hope was dangerous. Visibility was a trap. The shadows had been safer. Footsteps behind her. She didn't turn, didn't care who it was. Miss Vance! Not Caleb. Someone else. She looked up through tears, saw a figure in a dark cloak, face hidden. You should come with me, the stranger said quietly. Before this gets worse. How could it possibly get worse? Your mother isn't finished, neither is Crane. They have more planned, evidence they're going to present to the Duke, letters, forged letters, making it look like you were complicit from the beginning. Alara stared at the stranger. Who are you? Someone who's seen what they do to people, how they destroy anyone who threatens their control. The figure extended a hand. Come with me. I can help you disappear before they finish ruining you. Disappear where? Does it matter? Anywhere is better than here. Alara looked at that offered hand, then back toward the ballroom where Caleb had walked away, where her mother had orchestrated her destruction, where her entire life had just been exposed as a lie. The stranger was right. Anywhere was better than here. She reached out, let herself be pulled to her feet, and somewhere in the ballroom behind her, the clock struck 2. The stranger's hand was cold. Alara let herself be pulled away from the fountain, through the darkened gardens, past hedges that blocked them from view of the ballroom. Her mind felt distant, disconnected, like she was watching someone else stumble through the wreckage of their life. They reached a side gate. The stranger stopped, released her hand. Wait here. There's a carriage coming. Alara stood in the shadows, shivering despite her cloak. The stranger paced, checking the road, nervous energy radiating off them. Something felt wrong, off. But Alara's thoughts were too scattered to grasp what. Who sent you? She asked. Does it matter? Yes. The stranger hesitated. Someone who doesn't want to see you destroyed. That's not an answer. Hey. Before the stranger could respond, light flooded the gate. Not from a carriage, from lanterns, several of them, and voices. Familiar voices. There she is! Alara turned. Her mother emerged from the garden path, flanked by Baron Crane and two men Alara didn't recognize. The stranger beside her swore, started to run, but Crane's men were faster. They grabbed the cloaked figure, yanked back the hood. A girl, maybe 16, face pale with terror. Let her go, Alara said. She was just trying to help. Help? Her mother laughed. This little thief was trying to kidnap you, take you somewhere we couldn't find you, ruin you completely. That's not, the girl started. Crane slapped her. The sound cracked through the garden. The girl's head snapped sideways, blood at the corner of her mouth. Enough, Crane said coldly. You've done enough damage. He turned to Alara, expression almost sympathetic. We caught her just in time. Your mother was worried when you ran. She knew someone might try to take advantage of your emotional state. Alara stared at the scene playing out in front of her. Her mother's calculated concern, Crane's false kindness, the terrified girl being held by men who looked like they enjoyed hurting people. This was choreographed. All of it. The stranger had been part of the plan. One more humiliation. One more way to prove Alara couldn't survive without her mother's protection. You sent her, Alara said flatly. Her mother's expression didn't change. I have no idea what you mean. You sent her to offer me escape, knowing you'd catch us, knowing it would make me look even more foolish, more desperate. Alara, you're overwrought. Stop. The word came out harder than she'd intended, harder than she'd known she could manage. Just stop lying. Silence. Even Crane looked surprised. Let the girl go, Alara continued. She's not part of this. She's just another piece you moved around your board. You don't give orders here, her mother said quietly. Then I'll leave. Right now. And you can explain to everyone in that ballroom why the Duke's ruined mistress ran away into the night after attempting to elope with a mysterious stranger. I'm sure that will be wonderful for the family reputation. Her mother's eyes narrowed. She'd taught Alara too well. Taught her to see the angles, calculate the damage, understand leverage. Let her go, Lady Marguerite said to Crane's men. They released the girl. She stumbled, caught herself, looked at Alara with confusion and fear. Run, Alara told her. Just run. The girl ran. Crane moved to follow. Alara's mother stopped him with a gesture. Let her go. She's irrelevant. Lady Marguerite turned back to Alara. Come inside. We'll fix this together. There's nothing to fix. You got what you wanted. The Duke thinks I'm a liar. Everyone thinks I'm a schemer. I'm ruined. Congratulations. You're not ruined. You're protected. From a man who would have destroyed you eventually. Her mother stepped closer, voice softening to something almost gentle. I know you can't see it now, but I saved you, Alara. From heartbreak. From humiliation worse than this. From wasting years on someone who was never going to choose you permanently. He did choose me. He chose the idea of you. The fantasy. It wouldn't have lasted. You didn't give it a chance to last. King. Her mother sighed, a sound of infinite patience tested. Come inside. Sleep in your own bed tonight. Tomorrow we'll leave the city for a while. Let this blow over. When we return, we'll find you someone appropriate. Someone who won't break you. Alara looked at her mother, at the woman who'd spent a lifetime controlling her, shaping her, using her, and felt something cold and clear settle in her chest. No. Alara. I'm not going inside. I'm not leaving the city. I'm not doing anything you want anymore. She straightened, met her mother's eyes. I'm going back into that ballroom. I'm going to find Calum, and I'm going to tell him the truth. He won't believe you. Maybe not, but I'll know I tried. That's more than I can say for the last 22 years. She turned and walked back toward the ballroom before her mother could respond. Her legs shook, her heart hammered, but she kept moving. Behind her, she heard Crane say, "Should we stop her?" And her mother's reply, cold and final, "No, let her hang herself. We'll be there to cut her down when she's ready to apologize." The ballroom hadn't emptied. If anything, more people had arrived, drawn by scandal like moths to flame. The whispers intensified when Alara appeared in the doorway, tear-stained, disheveled, alone. She scanned the crowd for Calum. Didn't see him. He'd probably left. Probably was halfway home, trying to forget her entirely. Looking for someone? She turned. Isolde stood beside her, champagne in hand, expression unreadable. The Duke. Have you seen him? He's in the library. Lord Ashcroft offered him a quiet place to think. Isolde paused. Mother's plan worked perfectly, didn't it? You knew. Of course I knew. I always know. Isolde sipped her champagne. She told me weeks ago how she'd learned about the Duke's encounter with you in the garden, how she'd position you at the ball, how she'd let him think he was choosing you when really she was choosing him for you. And you said nothing. Why would I? It didn't affect me. Lord Ashford proposed tonight. We'll marry in the spring. Mother got what she wanted from both of us. Elara stared at her sister, beautiful, cold, perfectly content with the life she'd been given. Do you even care about Lord Ashford? Care? Isolde laughed. He's boring and predictable and exactly what I need. Caring doesn't enter into it. That's sad. That's practical. Isolde set down her glass. You want to know what's sad? Watching you throw yourself at a man who was always going to realize you weren't worth the scandal. Mother saved you from that. You should be grateful. I should hate her. I should hate you. Probably, but you won't. You're too soft. Isolde's expression flickered, something that might have been pity. The library is through the east corridor, third door on the left. But Elara, he's not going to forgive you. You know that, right? I don't need forgiveness. I need him to know the truth. The truth is whatever he believes. And right now he believes you played him. Then I'll make him believe something else. Isolde shook her head slowly. You really are the brave one. I never realized. She walked away, leaving Elara alone in the doorway. The crowd parted slightly, watching, waiting to see what the ruined girl would do next. Elara walked through them, heard the whispers, felt the stares, kept moving. The east corridor was quieter, lined with paintings of people long dead who'd probably done terrible things in beautiful rooms just like these. The third door stood slightly ajar, lamplight spilling through the gap. She pushed it open. The library was smaller than she'd expected, lined with books that looked decorative rather than read. Calum stood by the window, staring out at the gardens, shoulders rigid. I asked for privacy, he said, without turning. I know. He turned, saw her. Something crossed his face, pain, anger, exhaustion. You should go. Not until you hear me. I've heard enough. Your mother laid out her entire plan. Crane confirmed it. The evidence is exactly what they wanted you to see. Elara stepped into the room, closed the door. Because that's what they do. They create narratives, control perception, make people believe what they want them to believe. So you're saying Crane lied? That your mother lied? I'm saying they told you their version of the truth, not the whole truth. Calum's jaw tightened. Did your mother know about the garden? About our encounter 5 years ago? Elara wanted to lie, wanted to protect herself, but she'd spent her whole life lying by omission, and she was done. Yes, she knew. Something died in his eyes. Then Crane was right. Well, he was right about that one piece, but he was wrong about everything else. She moved closer, forcing him to look at her. My mother did know. She did position me at the ball. She probably hoped you'd notice me, but she didn't tell me any of it. I didn't know about the garden until you told me. I didn't know she had a plan. I just thought... Her voice broke. I thought you saw me. How can I believe that? Boy, because I'm terrible at lying. You know that. You've always known that. She was close enough now to see the doubt warring with something else in his expression. My mother is a master manipulator. She can orchestrate situations and engineer outcomes, but she can't fake human connection. She can't script the conversations we had, the things we talked about, the way we... She stopped. He was watching her with an intensity that made her breath catch. The way we what? He asked quietly. Understood each other, saw each other, made each other less alone. Silence. Long enough that Elara felt hope dying. Then Calum said, Tell me about the crossing garden. That day. What did I say to you? She blinked, thrown by the question. You said your brother died. A riding accident. You said you were supposed to protect him, and you failed. What else? Itu? Third sentence. You said you'd been planning to... She stopped, remembering. You'd been planning to leave, permanently. You had letters written, arrangements made. But sitting there in the garden, talking to me, you changed your mind. What did you say that changed it? Alara thought back. She'd been 17, terrified, completely unprepared for the weight of someone's grief. She'd said the only thing she could think of. I said that your brother wouldn't want you to disappear. That grief is love with nowhere to go, and maybe instead of leaving, you could find somewhere to put it. Something to build, someone to protect. She met his eyes. I said you could honor him by living differently, not by stopping living at all. Caleb's breath hitched. No one knows I said that. About the letters, the arrangements. I never told anyone. You told me. I never told your mother. Never told anyone. He stepped closer. How could you know if she coached you? I couldn't, because she didn't. They stood inches apart now, the space between them charged with everything unsaid. Caleb's hand lifted, hesitated, then touched her face gently, thumb brushing the tears she didn't realize she'd shed. I want to believe you, then he said roughly. I want it so badly it terrifies me. Then believe me. It's not that simple. Yes, it is. She caught his hand, held it against her cheek. You know me, Caleb. You've known me from the beginning. The girl in the garden. The woman in the shadows. The person who sees you when everyone else sees the title. That's real. My mother can't fake that, neither can I. Your mother said, my mother says a lot of things, most of them designed to control people, to make them doubt themselves and cling to her for certainty. Alara's voice hardened. Alara's bossa. She's been doing it to me my entire life, making me believe I'm not enough, that I'm only valuable if I'm invisible. And tonight, she tried to do the same thing to you. She has evidence, letters, forged, all of it. She has money and connections and no conscience. Creating false evidence is easy when you're willing to lie. She released his hand, stepped back. But here's what she can't fake, can't manipulate, can't control. What? This. She reached up, pulled the silver mask from her face, let it drop to the floor. Stood there completely exposed, no barriers, no protection. I'm choosing this, choosing you, not because my mother orchestrated it, not because it's strategic or safe or smart, but because for the first time in my life, someone saw me and I saw them back, and I'd rather have that and lose it than never have it at all. Caleb stared at her. Then slowly, deliberately, he removed his own mask, dropped it beside hers. I walked away, he said quietly. In the ballroom. When Crane was talking, I saw the doubt in your face, and I walked away. I'm sorry. You had reason to doubt. No, I didn't. Because I know you. I've known you from that bench in the garden, and the person who sat with me then, who listened without judgment, who offered kindness with no agenda, that person doesn't scheme, doesn't manipulate, doesn't lie. Caleb, let me finish. He moved closer, hands gentle on her shoulders. Your mother created the situation, put you in my path. I believe that. But everything that happened after, every conversation, every moment, every feeling, that was us. That was real. And I was a coward to doubt it. Alara felt something tight in her chest start to unwind. You weren't a coward. You were protecting yourself. From the wrong threat. The danger isn't you. It's everyone who wants to tear us apart because we don't make sense to them. His hand slid down to her hands, laced their fingers together. His hand slid down. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going back into that ballroom. I'm going to tell everyone exactly what happened, who manipulated what, who lied, and who I choose. They won't believe you. I don't care. Let them talk. Let them speculate. Let your mother spin whatever narrative she wants. His grip tightened. I'm choosing you, publicly, permanently, if you'll have me. The words hit her like a wave. Caleb, you're a duke. I'm nobody. You're the person who saved my life, who sees me when everyone else sees a title. That's not nobody. That's everything. My family. Your family doesn't own you. Neither does society. Neither do expectations. He pulled her closer. You asked me once why I cared so much. I'll tell you. It's because you're the only person who ever made me feel human instead of useful. And I'm not losing that because your mother is a skilled liar. Elara looked up at him, at this powerful, dangerous man who'd somehow become the safest place she'd ever known, and felt tears spill over. I don't know how to do this, she whispered. Neither do I. We'll figure it out. People will try to destroy us. Let them try. She laughed through tears. You're very confident for someone whose evening just imploded. I'm confident in you. That's enough. He kissed her then, gently at first, then deeper, like he was trying to communicate everything words couldn't carry. Elara kissed him back, tasting salt and certainty, feeling something fundamental shift inside her. When they broke apart, she was breathless. We should go back, she managed. Yes, together. They left the library hand in hand, masks of abandon on the floor. The corridor led back toward the ballroom, toward the crowd waiting for their next move, toward her mother and Crane and everyone who'd decided Alara's story before she'd had a chance to write it. But this time, she wasn't walking alone. The ballroom had gotten louder. Someone had called for more champagne. The orchestra was playing again. People danced and laughed and pretended the scandal wasn't the most interesting thing that had happened all season. When Elara and Calum appeared in the doorway, the music stumbled. Conversations died. All eyes turned toward them. Lord Ashcroft approached nervously. Your Grace, I apologize for the disruption earlier. If there's anything I can— There is. Calum's voice carried across the room, commanding attention without effort. I'd like to make an announcement. The ballroom went completely silent. Alara's mother materialized at the edge of the crowd, face carefully neutral. Crane stood beside her, arms crossed, expression smug. Calum's hand tightened on Alara's. Many of you witnessed what happened earlier, the accusations Baron Crane made regarding Miss Vance and her family. I want to address those accusations directly. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Elara forced herself to breathe. Baron Crane claimed that Lady Marguerite Vance orchestrated my relationship with her daughter, that Miss Vance was positioned deliberately to catch my attention, that our entire connection was manufactured. He paused. Some of that is true. Gasps, whispers. That is, Alara's mother's eyes gleamed with triumph. Lady Marguerite did engineer the situation, did place Elara where I would notice her, did know about our prior encounter. Calum's voice hardened. What Baron Crane failed to mention is that Elara herself knew none of this. She was used by her mother as thoroughly as her mother attempted to use me. The crowd shifted. Her mother's expression flickered. I know this, Calum continued, because I know Elara. I've known her for 5 years, though we only recently reunited. And the person who showed me kindness when I was breaking, who asked nothing in return, who treated me like a human being rather than a title or a prize. That person doesn't scheme, doesn't manipulate, doesn't have the capacity for the cruelty her mother demonstrated tonight. Crane stepped forward. Your Grace, with respect, you're being deceived. Am I? Calum's gaze pinned him like a butterfly to cork. Tell me, Baron, how much did Lady Marguerite pay you to help her destroy her own daughter? Crane went pale. I don't know what you mean. The forged letters, the coordinated timing, the theatrical revelation. None of that was coincidence. You and Lady Marguerite worked together to humiliate Elara and drive a wedge between us. The question is why? I was trying to protect you from what? From happiness? From someone who sees past my title? Calum's voice dropped, dangerous and cold. Or were you hoping that once Elara was ruined, I'd turn to someone more appropriate? Someone, perhaps, who'd paid you to facilitate that outcome? Lady Seraphine Hale, standing near the back of the crowd, suddenly became very interested in her champagne glass. Calum's smile was terrible. Yes, I know about that too. About the arrangement you made, about the bribes, about everything you've done to try to manipulate my choices. The crowd was riveted now. Scandal layering on scandal. Here's what's going to happen. Calum said quietly, but everyone heard him. Baron Crane, you'll leave the city by morning. You'll resign your position. You'll disappear. If I ever see you again, I'll ensure everyone knows exactly what you've done, who you've hurt, how thoroughly you've betrayed any trust you ever held. Crane opened his mouth, closed it, looked at Lady Marguerite, who was suddenly fascinated by the floor. As for you, Lady Marguerite, Calum turned to Alara's mother. You will stay away from your daughter. You will not contact her, threaten her, or attempt to control her. If you do, I will use every resource at my disposal to ensure society knows exactly what kind of mother you are, what you've done to both your daughters, how you've used them as pawns in your social games. You can't prove, her mother started. I can prove all of it. I have sources you don't know about, eyes in places you never suspected. And I've been watching, waiting, giving you rope. His expression hardened. You've hanged yourself quite thoroughly. Lady Marguerite's face went white, then red. You're making a mistake. She's not worth... If you finish that sentence, I'll destroy you. Not your reputation. You, personally, completely. Test me. Her mother's mouth snapped shut. Calum turned back to the crowd, his hand still holding Ilara's. I'm courting Alara Vance, publicly, seriously, with every intention of making her my duchess if she'll have me. Anyone who has a problem with that can take it up with me directly. Anyone who speaks against her, spreads lies about her, or makes her feel unwelcome in any space I occupy will answer to me. Am I clear? Silence. Then, from somewhere in the crowd, someone started clapping. Slowly at first, then joined by others. Not everyone. Many stood frozen, shocked, calculating. But enough. Lord Chancellor Greaves stepped forward, offered a stiff bow. Congratulations, Your Grace. Miss Vance, I'm sure you'll be very happy. Others echoed the sentiment, genuine or not. The machinery of society adjusting, recalibrating, accepting this new reality because the Duke had made it impossible not to. Ilara stood beside Calum, watching the crowd, watching her mother's expression cycle through rage and humiliation and something that might have been fear. Watching Crane slink toward the exit, watching everything she'd known her entire life reshape itself around her. We should go, Calum murmured. Yes. They left the ballroom together, through the main entrance this time, past the whispering crowds and the people already rewriting history to accommodate this scandal. The carriage waited outside. Calum helped her in, climbed in beside her. The door closed. The carriage rolled forward. They sat in silence for several minutes, the enormity of what had just happened settling over them. You didn't have to do that, Alara said finally. Threaten them. Risk your reputation. Yes, I did. You could have just walked away, chosen someone easier. I don't want easier. I want you. He turned to face her. Do you understand what I just did in there? I claimed you, publicly, in front of everyone who matters. There's no going back from that. I know. If you're going to run, do it now, before this goes further. Yeah. Alara looked at him, at this man who'd just upended society for her, who'd faced down her mother and Baron Crane and everyone who'd decided she wasn't good enough, and felt something settle deep in her chest. I'm not running, she said. You're sure? I've spent my whole life running, hiding, disappearing. She took his hand. I'm done running, especially from this. He pulled her close, wrapped his arms around her, and held on like she might vanish if he let go. What happens now? She asked against his shoulder. Now? We deal with the fallout, the gossip, your mother's next move. He pulled back enough to see her face. But we do it together. No more shadows, no more invisibility. That's terrifying. I know, but you're not alone anymore. The carriage rolled through the night streets, carrying them away from the Ashcroft estate, from the ballroom where Ilara had been broken and remade, from the life she'd always known. When they reached her family's estate, Calum walked her to the door. I'll send a carriage tomorrow, he said, to collect your things. You're not staying here. Where am I going? Wherever you want. My residence has guest rooms, or I can arrange something else. But you're not staying under your mother's roof. She'll fight this. Let her, I'm ready. He kissed her goodnight, gentle, lingering, full of promise, and waited until she was inside before leaving. Ilara stood in the foyer of her childhood home and felt nothing. No attachment, no regret, just the quiet certainty that she was leaving and never coming back. She climbed the stairs to her room, began pulling dresses from the wardrobe, books from shelves, gathering the pieces of herself she wanted to keep. Her door opened without knocking. Isolde stood there, expression complicated. "You're really leaving?" "Yes." "With him?" "Yes." Isolde was quiet for a moment. Then she stepped inside, closed the door. Mother's in her room, raging, breaking things. "I've never seen her like this." "Good. She's going to come after you, both of you." "Let her try." Isolde sank onto the bed, watching Alara pack. "I don't understand you. You could have just apologized, gone back to being invisible." "She would have forgiven you eventually. I don't want her forgiveness. I want my life. Bacha old. And you think he'll give you that? A duke?" "They're all the same, Alara. They use people." "Maybe. But he's willing to be used back. That's different." Alara folded a dress, set it aside. "You should think about that. With Lord Ashford, whether you're using each other or just being used." "I told you, I don't care about that." "I think you do. I think you care more than you admit, but you're too scared to ask for more." Isolde's expression cracked, just for a moment. Asking for more is how you get hurt. Asking for less is how you disappear. They looked at each other, two sisters who'd never really known each other, never been allowed to. "I hope you're right," Isolde said quietly. "About him. About this. I hope it's everything you think it is." "Me too." Isolde stood, moved toward the door, then paused. "For what it's worth, I'm glad you fought back. Mother needed to lose something. Maybe this will teach her she can't control everything." She left before Alara could respond. Alara finished packing as dawn broke over the city. She gathered her books, her few treasured belongings, the pieces of herself she'd hidden from her mother all these years. When Calem's carriage arrived at 8, she was ready. She walked down the stairs one last time, carrying 2 small trunks, leaving everything else behind. Her mother stood in the foyer, face composed but eyes burning. "You'll regret this," Lady Marguerite said. "Probably, but at least it'll be my regret, not yours." "He'll tire of you." "Maybe." "You'll come back, begging me to fix it." "No, I won't." Her mother's control finally cracked. "I made you! Everything you are, I created, and this is how you repay me, Ki." Alara stopped, turned back. "You didn't make me. You tried to erase me. There's a difference." She walked out the door, into the morning light, into Calem's waiting carriage. As they pulled away, she looked back once, saw her mother standing in the doorway, small and furious, and finally, blessedly, powerless. Then she turned forward and didn't look back again. The carriage turned north, away from the fashionable districts, away from everything Alara had ever known. She watched the city change through the window, grand estates giving way to quieter streets, then to the tree-lined approach to Calem's residence. The house looked different in daylight, less imposing, more like a place where someone actually lived rather than performed. Calem's aide met them at the door, the same military-looking young man from her first visit. He nodded respectfully. "Miss Vance, your rooms are prepared. 2nd floor, east wing." "Thank you." Inside, the house felt the same as before. Functional, honest, no gilt edges or performative luxury. Just solid furniture, well-worn books, maps on the walls instead of portraits. Calem showed her to a suite of rooms overlooking the garden. Bedroom, sitting room, private study. More space than she'd ever had. "It's not permanent," he said, watching her take it in. "Just until you decide what you want, where you want to be." "What if I don't know?" "Then take your time figuring it out. There's no rush." He left her to settle in. Alara unpacked slowly, placing her books on empty shelves, her few dresses in a wardrobe that could have held 20. When she finished, the room still looked half empty. But they were hers, chosen, not assigned. She found Calem in his study an hour later, surrounded by correspondence. He looked up when she entered, pushed the papers aside. "How are you?" "Strange?" "Good strange, I think. But strange." "You left everything. I left nothing important." She sat in the chair across from him. "What happens now? You made declarations, threats. Society won't just forget." "No, they'll talk. Speculate. Test us to see if we're serious. He leaned back. Your mother will retaliate. So will Crane, probably. And people like Lady Seraphine will do everything they can to prove we're a mistake. That's a lot of enemies. It is. Are you ready for that? Alara thought about her mother's face when she'd walked out, about Crane's smug certainty that she'd fail, about every person who'd ever looked through her like she was glass. Yes, she said, I'm ready. The first test came 2 days later. Invitations arrived, dozens of them. Dinner parties, salons, a concert at the Royal Hall. Every hostess in the city suddenly desperate for the Duke's presence and curious about his scandalous choice. They want to see if you'll break, Calum said, sorting through the heavy cardstock. If you'll make a mistake they can use against you, then I won't make mistakes. You're human. You'll make mistakes. The question is whether you'll let them destroy you over it. They started with something small. A dinner party at Lord Chancellor Greaves' residence. 20 guests, formal but not overwhelming. Alara wore deep green silk, her hair arranged simply. No excessive jewelry. No desperate attempts to transform herself. The carriage ride felt longer than it was. Calum's hand found hers in the darkness. You don't have to do this, he said quietly. Yes, I do. Running worked when I was invisible. It won't work now. Greaves' estate blazed with light and nervous energy. The other guests had already arrived, were already watching when Alara and Calum entered. She felt the weight of their stares, their barely concealed assessment. Lady Greaves greeted them with excessive warmth. Your Grace, Miss Vance, we're so honored you could join us. Translation. We're thrilled you're providing tonight's entertainment. Dinner was an exercise in psychological warfare disguised as polite conversation. The guests, carefully selected mix of allies, neutrals, and enemies, probed delicately, testing boundaries. Miss Vance, Lady Hartford began, voice dripping false sweetness. I understand you've moved into the Duke's residence. How progressive. I have my own rooms in the guest wing, Alara replied evenly. The Duke has been generous in offering me space while I determine my next steps. Of course, though one wonders what society will make of such an arrangement. Society will make what it always makes, assumptions, most of them wrong. Lady Hartford's smile thinned. Beside Alara, she felt Calum's quiet approval. The questions continued, about her family, her intentions. Whether she understood the responsibilities that came with the Duke's attention. Each one designed to make her feel small, uncertain, out of her depth. But Alara had spent 22 years being made to feel small. She knew the weapons, knew how to deflect them. Tell me, Miss Vance, Lord Pemberton said, third glass of wine making him bolder, what exactly do you bring to this arrangement beyond the obvious novelty? The table went silent. Calum's hand tightened on his fork. Alara met Pemberton's gaze. I bring myself. Which is apparently more than most people in this room can say. Gasps. Pemberton's face went red. But before anyone could respond, Lord Chancellor Greaves laughed. Genuine, surprised laughter. Well said, Miss Vance. Well said indeed. The tension broke. Conversation resumed. But something had shifted. Alara had proven she wouldn't be easily dismissed. After dinner, the ladies withdrew to the drawing room while the men retreated for brandy and politics. Alara found herself cornered by 3 women she vaguely recognized from various society functions. You've caused quite a stir, one of them said. Not hostile, exactly. Curious. I've noticed. The Duke has never shown interest in anyone before. Not publicly. People are wondering why you... People should ask him. We're asking you. Alara looked at the 3 women, all beautiful, all accomplished, all probably wondering why the Duke had chosen the plain sister over them. I don't know why, she admitted. I just know he did, and I'm choosing to believe it's real until proven otherwise. One of the women, Lady Caroline something, tilted her head. You're either very brave or very foolish, probably both. That's refreshingly honest. Caroline smiled slightly. Most women in your position would be performing, pretending to be what they think he wants. I spent my whole life performing for my mother. I'm done pretending to be someone else, even if being yourself costs you everything. Especially then. The women exchanged glances. Something passed between them. Recognition, maybe, or respect. "Good luck, Miss Vance," Caroline said. "You're going to need it." The carriage ride home was quiet. Alara felt wrung out, exhausted from maintaining her composure for hours. "You did well," Caleb said. "I answered questions and didn't cry. That's a low bar." You stood your ground, refused to be intimidated. That's not a low bar. He paused. Pemberton was out of line. I'll make sure he knows it. Don't. It'll just prove I can't fight my own battles. You shouldn't have to fight battles at dinner parties. Maybe not, but I do, and I can handle it. He studied her in the dim carriage light. You're stronger than you think you are. Or more stubborn. Both. Definitely both. The invitations kept coming. They attended selectively, enough to prove they weren't hiding, not so much that it felt desperate. Each event was another test, another opportunity for someone to try to break Alara, to prove she didn't belong. But she kept showing up, kept answering questions, kept refusing to shrink. 3 weeks after the masquerade, everything changed. Alara was in the garden, reading, when Caleb found her. His expression was carefully neutral, which meant something was wrong. What happened? He handed her a newspaper, the society column. She scanned the text, stomach sinking with each line. The article was vicious. Anonymous sources claiming Alara had trapped the Duke through manipulation and tears, that she was using him to escape her family's declining fortunes, that the relationship was a calculated grab for power disguised as romance. It's Crane, Caleb said flatly. Or your mother, or both. They're not done. What do? We respond, publicly. Put the truth out there and let people decide. They won't believe us. People believe what they want to believe. Then we make them believe something else. He sat beside her on the bench. I have evidence. Records of Crane's bribes. Testimony from servants who witnessed your mother's manipulations. Letters proving she engineered the masquerade confrontation. You've been investigating. Since the night of the opera, I told you I have eyes in places people don't suspect. His jaw tightened. I'm going to release it all, everything. Burn them both so thoroughly, they'll never threaten you again. Alara stared at the newspaper, at the lies printed as fact, and felt something cold settle in her chest. Don't. What? Don't release it. Don't destroy them. Alara, they're destroying you, They're trying to. But if you retaliate with their own methods, investigations, exposure, public humiliation, you prove them right. You prove this is about power and revenge instead of... She stopped. Instead of what it actually is. Which is? Two people who found each other despite everyone trying to keep them apart. She turned to face him. I don't want to win by destroying them. I want to win by proving they're irrelevant. Caleb was silent for a long moment. That's harder, slower. I know, but it's the only way that matters. You're sure? No, but I'm willing to try. He pulled her close, pressed his forehead to hers. You're better than all of them. You know that? I'm just tired of playing their games. 2 days later, an invitation arrived that neither of them expected. The Crown was hosting a reception, a formal gathering of the peerage and important officials. Attendance was essentially mandatory, which meant Alara and Caleb would be there, along with her mother, Crane if he hadn't fled the city, and everyone who'd been watching their scandal unfold. It's a trap, Alara said, reading the invitation. Probably, but we have to go anyway. What if they plan something? Another public confrontation? Then we'll handle it, together. The night of the reception, Alara dressed in midnight blue, the color of the masquerade gown. The night everything had fallen apart and somehow started to rebuild. She looked at herself in the mirror and barely recognized the woman staring back. Stronger, steadier, still afraid but no longer willing to hide it. Caleb met her at the bottom of the stairs, stopped, just looked at her. What? She asked. I'm trying to figure out how I survived 31 years without you. Poorly, apparently. You were planning to throw yourself off a metaphorical cliff when I met you. Exactly, poorly. He offered his arm. Ready? Never. Let's go. The crown's residence made every other estate look modest. Marble and gold and excessive displays of wealth accumulated over centuries. Hundreds of guests packed the ballrooms and corridors, everyone who mattered and many who didn't. Alara and Calum entered together and conversation rippled outward like water from a stone. Heads turned, whispers started, but this time Alara didn't look away, didn't try to disappear. Just walked beside Calum with her head up. Her mother was there. Near the back of the room, dressed in crimson, talking to someone Alara didn't recognize. When their eyes met, Lady Marguerite's expression went cold and hard. Crane was there too, lurking near the edges, not quite brave enough to approach, but not gone either. He watched them with undisguised hatred. The evening rolled forward in familiar patterns, dancing, politics, polite conversations hiding vicious intent. Alara stayed close to Calum, navigating the crowd, fielding questions, refusing to give ground. Around midnight, the crown made an appearance. King Aldrich was 70, sharp-eyed, bored with most of humanity. He surveyed the room, gestured for Calum to approach. Your Grace, walk with me. It wasn't a request. Calum squeezed Alara's hand once, then followed the king toward a quieter corridor. Alara stood alone in the ballroom, suddenly very aware that her primary protection had just disappeared. Lady Seraphine materialized beside her almost immediately. Miss Vance, how are you enjoying the evening? It's tolerable. I imagine so. Must be thrilling, attending these events on the Duke's arm. Quite different from hiding in corners. Alara turned to face her. Is there something you want, Lady Hale? Just to offer some friendly advice. Woman to woman. Seraphine's smile was sharp. The Duke's interest in you is temporary. A fascination that will burn out once he remembers his responsibilities. When it does, you'll be left with nothing. No title, no protection, just scandal and regret. You sound very certain. I am, because I know men like him. They play with unconventional choices for a while, then they marry appropriate ones. She leaned closer. I'm willing to be patient. Are you? Before Alara could respond, a voice cut through the noise. Miss Vance! She turned. Her mother stood a few feet away, expression carefully composed. Mother, I was hoping we could speak, privately. We have nothing to discuss. Please, just a moment. Against her better judgment, Alara followed her mother to an alcove off the main ballroom. They stood facing each other, two women who shared blood and nothing else. You're making a mistake, her mother began. You've said that already. I'm saying it again. This won't end well, Alara. The Duke will tire of you. Society will reject you. And when it all falls apart, you'll have nowhere to go. I'll go anywhere that isn't near you. Her mother's face tightened. I'm your mother. I only want... What? What do you want? Alara's voice rose slightly. You spent 22 years making me invisible, then 1 month trying to destroy the one person who saw me anyway. So what exactly do you want from me? I want you safe, protected. I want you to have a life that doesn't depend on the whims of a powerful man. No. You want me controlled, under your thumb, grateful for whatever scraps you deign to offer. Alara stepped closer. But I'm done being your puppet, done performing for your approval, done accepting cruelty disguised as protection. You think you're so strong now, so independent, but you're still that scared little girl who needed me to tell her how to exist. You're right, I was that girl, but I'm not anymore. Alara's voice steadied. You taught me how to disappear. The Duke taught me how to exist. And I'm choosing existence, even if it's messy and uncertain and terrifies me. Her mother's expression cracked, just for a moment, showing something underneath. Fear, maybe. Or grief. He'll break your heart. Probably, but it'll be my heart to break. Not yours to manage. She turned to leave. Her mother caught her arm. Alara, please, don't throw away your family over this. I'm not throwing anything away. You threw me away years ago. I'm just finally acknowledging it. She pulled free and walked back into the ballroom, hands shaking but head high. Calum was waiting, eyes scanning the crowd for her. He saw her cross the distance in seconds. Are you all right? I will be. What did the king want? To ask my intentions. Apparently our scandal is entertaining enough that even he's paying attention. What did you tell him? That my intentions are honorable and none of his business. Caleb's expression softened. Also that I plan to marry you. If you'll have me. The words hit her like lightning. What? I said, I heard what you said. I just, here, now? You're asking me here? I'm not asking, not yet, not properly. He took her hand. I'm just telling you, so you know, so everyone knows. This isn't temporary, it's not a fascination, it's real. Yes, real. Around them the crowd surged and whispered and judged. But in that moment, Alara didn't care. Didn't care about her mother's warnings or Seraphine's threats or the scandal that would never quite fade. I'm terrified, she admitted. So am I. We're probably going to fail spectacularly. Probably, but we'll fail together. She laughed despite herself. That's not very romantic. I'm not very romantic. I'm practical and occasionally terrifying and terrible at expressing emotions. I know. That's why I... She stopped, the words catching in her throat. Why you what? Why I love you. The admission hung between them, raw and honest and absolutely true. Caleb went very still. Say that again. I love you, even though you're difficult and traumatized and have more enemies than friends. Even though this is probably going to destroy us both. I love you. He kissed her, right there in the Crown's ballroom, in front of hundreds of watching guests, and her furious mother and everyone who'd ever decided she wasn't enough. Gasps, whispers, shock. Alara didn't care. When they broke apart, she was breathless and dizzy, and more certain than she'd ever been. We should leave, Caleb murmured. Yes, before someone has an actual heart attack. They left the Crown's residence hand in hand, past staring guests and clutching gossips, and her mother's white-faced rage. The carriage waited outside. Take us home, Caleb told the driver. Home. The word settled over Alara like warmth. Not her mother's house. Not the estate she'd fled. Home. The weeks that followed weren't easy. The scandal intensified, fed by anonymous sources and deliberate lies. Society divided, some supporting the unlikely match, others condemning it as improper. But Alara kept showing up, kept attending events, kept refusing to apologize for existing. And slowly, incrementally, things started to shift. Lady Caroline invited her to tea, just the two of them, no pretense. They talked for 3 hours about books and expectations and the crushing weight of being ornamental. You're different, Caroline said. You're not trying to be what they want. I admire that. I'm too tired to try anymore. That's when real strength shows, when you're too exhausted to pretend. Other women followed. Quiet conversations, small alliances. Women who'd spent their lives performing finally seen someone refuse to play the game. The men were slower, but Lord Chancellor Greaves began seeking Alara's opinions on matters of policy, discovering that the invisible girl had spent years reading, thinking, understanding the systems everyone else took for granted. You're wasted on society functions, Greaves said after one particularly insightful observation about trade negotiations. You should be advising the Crown. The Crown doesn't take advice from scandalous women. Then the Crown is missing an opportunity. 6 months after the masquerade, Caleb asked her properly. Not at a ball or public event. Just in his study, late at night, both of them exhausted from another round of social warfare. Marry me, he said without preamble. Alara looked up from her book. That's not a question. I'm not asking. I'm telling you what I want. You can decide if you want it too. Very romantic. I told you I'm terrible at this. He moved closer, took the book from her hands. But I mean it. Marry me. Not because it's strategic or proper or what anyone expects, but because I can't imagine my life without you anymore. Your life would be easier without me. My life would be empty without you. He pulled her to her feet. So, what do you say? Alara looked at him. This powerful, damaged, difficult man who'd somehow become her entire world, and felt tears threaten. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes." The announcement sent shockwaves through society. The Duke of Shadowmere marrying the Forgotten Vance's daughter. Unprecedented, scandalous, absolutely unacceptable to half the peerage. They didn't care. The wedding was small, private. Just close allies and people they actually trusted. No performance, no spectacle. Just two people choosing each other in front of witnesses who mattered. Alara's mother wasn't invited. Neither was Crane, who'd fled the city entirely after Calum had quietly destroyed his remaining credibility. Isolde came. She sat in the back, watchful and silent, and when it was over, she approached Alara carefully. "You look happy," Isolde said. "I am. I still don't understand it, how you made this work. I stopped trying to be what everyone wanted, started being what I needed." Isolde was quiet for a moment. Then, so quietly, Alara almost missed it. "I envy you. You could have this too, if you chose it. I'm not brave enough." "You're braver than you think. You just haven't needed to be yet." Isolde left without another word, but something in her expression had shifted. Recognition, maybe. Or the beginning of hope. The months became years. Alara settled into her role as Duchess, not by performing it perfectly, but by reshaping it entirely. She turned the Shadowmere residence into a gathering place for thinkers, reformers, people with ideas instead of just titles. She advised Calum on policy, started programs for women with nowhere else to go, used her position not to elevate herself, but to elevate others who'd been invisible like she'd been. Society adjusted. Slowly. Some never accepted her, but enough did that it stopped mattering. 3 years after the wedding, she received a letter. The handwriting was familiar, shaky but unmistakable. "Alara, I won't apologize. I did what I thought was right, protected you the only way I knew how. You'll understand someday when you have daughters. When you realize how cruel the world is to women who don't fit its molds. But I was wrong about one thing. The Duke. He didn't tire of you, didn't discard you. He chose you. Every day. That's rare. More rare than I admitted. I won't ask for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I wanted you to know. I see you now, finally, and you're more than I ever let you be." Your mother Alara read the letter twice, felt nothing and everything. Then she folded it carefully and put it in a drawer she rarely opened. She didn't respond, didn't need to. Some wounds healed, others just stopped bleeding. This was the latter. That evening she found Calum in the garden, reading by lamplight. He looked up when she approached, smiled that rare smile he reserved only for her. "Everything all right?" "Everything's strange, but good strange. The best kind." She sat beside him, leaned against his shoulder, felt the solid warmth of him. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked quietly. "Choosing me, the scandal, everything that came after." "Never. Not even when people whisper? When they question your judgment? Especially not then." He set down his book, turned to face her. "You know what I regret? The 5 years I spent trying to forget you. The time I wasted. That's what I regret. We found each other eventually. We did. And I plan to spend the rest of my life proving you were worth the wait. That's a long time. Good. I have a lot to prove." She kissed him as the sun set over their garden, over the life they'd built from scandal and stubbornness, and refusing to accept the roles they'd been assigned. Years later, when people asked how she'd done it, how the forgotten daughter became the most respected duchess in a generation, Alara would smile and say it was simple. She'd stopped hiding, stopped apologizing for existing, stopped accepting that being invisible was the same as being safe, and she'd found someone who saw her, truly saw her, and chose her anyway. Not because she was perfect, not because she fit some ideal, but because she was real. And real, it turned out, was rare enough to be worth everything. The shadow had stepped into light, and the light had been waiting all along.